Hi, Ella. Hi, Elia. Hi, Vanessa. Thank you for joining. Hello, hello. Welcome. Thank you. I'm doing well, Vanessa. How are you doing? Thank you for asking. Shout out to Elia. Shout out to Vanessa. Shout out to Celie. Shout out to Miguel. Hello, welcome. Write your name in the chat if you want me to shout you out. I'm doing well, Miguel. Thank you for asking. How are you doing? Shout out to Victor. Thank you, Elia, for liking my content. I truly appreciate it. Write your name in the chat if you want me to shout you out. Also, leave a like if you enjoy the shout outs. Shout out to Alan. Shout out to Victoria. Shout out to Fauna. Shout out to Jay. Shout out to Jose. Shout out to Jaden. Shout out to John. There's a lot of J names. Shout out to John. Shout out to Martha. Shout out to was it JSY? Shout out to Matthew. Write your name down if you want me to shout you out. Thank you so much for being here. Shout out to Aden. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Whoops, I messed up. Shout out to Aden. Oh, JSY was a typo. Okay, it's okay. Shout out to Mia. Shout out to Gabriella. Write your name in the chat if you want me to shout you out. Shout out to Lisa. Shout out to Mia. Hi, Mia. Thank you for joining. Shout out to Mia. Shout out to Nuala. Shout out to Lucy. Shout out to Jared. Shout out to Galilee. Leave a like if you're enjoying the live stream. Thank you so much for being here. Shout out to Eve. Shout out to Emma. Shout out to Aliana. Or Elena. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to Zoe. Shout out to Erin. Thank you, Erin. Shout out to write your name if you want me to shout you out. Shout out to Jay. Shout out to Leo. Shout out to, thank you Elizabeth for your support. Shout out to Elizabeth. Shout out to Elliot. Rain, what name do you want me to put? Shout out to Elliot. Shout out to Stella. Shout out to Owen. Shout out to Hayden. Shout out to Bull. Shout out to Allison. Shout out to Ava. Ava Rose. Shout out to Anthony. Shout out to Bull, I got you. Shout out to Jocelyn. Shout out to Anthony, I got you. Shout out to Celeste. Shout out to Kinsley. Shout out to Maya. Shout out to Daphne. Shout out to Bentley. Shout out to Marius or Marius. Sorry if I mispronounce your name. Shout out to Evelyn. Shout out to Madeline. Shout out to Shadow Milk Cookie. Shout out to Eku. Sorry if I mispronounce your name. Shout out to Sailor. Shout out to Iku, I got you, or Eku. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to Amiri. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to Sarah. Shout out to Lucas. Shout out to Violet. Shout out to Erica. Shout out to Liliana. Shout out to Willow. Shout out to Connie. Shout out to Bruna. Shout out to Vixie Bell. Sorry if I mispronounced her name. Shout out to Tatiana. Thank you. Is it Kalana? Shout out to Kalana. Shout out to Charlie. Shout out to Vanya. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to Chloe. Shout out to Edith. Shout out to Reagan. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to Ida. Shout out to Jimena. Shout out to Carrie. Dragon Wing, what name do you want me to write? Shout out to Alice. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to Message. Shout out to Ashley. Shout out to Vanessa. Shout out to Chloe. Shout out to Kim. Shout out to Message. Shout out to Paxton. Shout out to Dragon Wing, I got you. I put Message. Shout out to Courtney. Shout out to Bryn. Shout out to Raya. Shout out to, is it Skylar or Skylar? Shout out to Hania. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to Sally. Shout out to Lyric. Shout out to Edith. Shout out to Dragon Wing. What name do you want me to put? Because when the name goes up, it says Message. So let me know what name you want, because I get confused. Shout out to Juliet. Shout out to Sean. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to Stacy. Shout out to, okay, shout out to Reese a lot. Thank you so much, because when I look at the names, it was saying Message. I don't know why. And then when I look at your username, it says Dragon Wing. Shout out to Skyar. Shout out to Marley. Shout out to Serene. Shout out to Janessa. Shout out to Isabel, or was it Isabel? Isabella? Shout out to Isabella. Shout out to Mian, or Mayan. Shout out to Skylar. Shout out to Piper. Shout out to these people. Give me 30 seconds, I'll be right back. Thank you so much for your patience. Shout out to these people. On to the next page. Like and subscribe if you enjoy the shout outs. I also post other content. I hope you can check it out as well. Shout out to Sorry. Shout out to, is it Jaisleen? Sorry if I mispronounce your name. Shout out to Wanya. Shout out to Raya. Shout out to Nanika. Shout out to Mariam. Shout out to Claire. Shout out to Julia. Shout out to Phoebe. Whoops, why'd I put an R? Shout out to Phoebe. Shout out to Xander. Shout out to Estelle. Thank you for subscribing. Shout out to Christina. Shout out to Sadie. Shout out to Mila. Shout out to Aiden. Thank you for your patience. Shout out to Rebecca. Shout out to Anna. Shout out to Zoe. Shout out to Elisa. Shout out to Ariana. Shout out to Lucia. Shout out to Aner. Sorry if I mispronounce your name. Shout out to Lauren. Shout out to Scarlett. Shout out to Brooklyn. Leave a like if you're enjoying the live stream. Thank you for your patience. Please write your name if I haven't gotten to you yet. Shout out to Bianca. Shout out to Sana. Shout out to Erica. Shout out to Addie. Shout out to Scarlett. Shout out to Agnes. Shout out to Abella. Shout out to Betty. Shout out to Macy. Shout out to Amzi. Shout out to Ellie. Shout out to Serenity. Shout out to Bryden. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to Steve. Shout out to Abriella. Shout out to Dustin. Shout out to Ariel. Shout out to Terrence. Leave a like if you're enjoying the live stream. Shout out to, is it Aster? Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to Sophia. Shout out to Nancy. Shout out to Duiku. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Thank you for subscribing. Shout out to Cookie. Shout out to Megan. Shout out to Ainsley. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Like and subscribe if you're enjoying the live stream. Thank you so much for your patience. Shout out to Audrey. Shout out to Bill. Shout out to Matthew. Shout out to Lottie. Shout out to Milan. Shout out to Halsey. Shout out to O'Neill. Shout out to Albina. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to Tay-Tay. Shout out to Ray. Shout out to Kayla. Shout out to Piper. Shout out to Alicia. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to Pretty Girl. Shout out to Island or Isla. Shout out to Aubrey. Shout out to Samira. Shout out to Aurora. Shout out to Kira or Kyra. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to Amelia. Thank you, Amelia. Shout out to Celestivia. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to Matilda. Shout out to Chloe. Shout out to April. Shout out to Shania. Thank you for subscribing. Or Shania. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to Olivia. Shout out to Abigail. Shout out to Sunny. Shout out to Carlos. Shout out to Freya. Shout out to Aiza. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to Lisette. Shout out to Maham. Thank you for subscribing. Shout out to Ella. Shout out to Mykelty. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Thank you for subscribing. Shout out to Lottie. Shout out to Eleanor. Shout out to Sadie. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to Rufus. Shout out to Bree. Shout out to Liliana. Like and subscribe if you enjoy the shout outs. Thank you so much for being here. Shout out to Kyla. Shout out to Kath. Shout out to Sandy. Shout out to Sinai. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to Justine. Shout out to Temperance. Shout out to Nani. Shout out to Caitlin. Thank you for subscribing. Shout out to Marina. Shout out to these people. On to the next page. Thank you for your patience. Please write your name if I haven't gotten to you. I know I write slow, so thank you so much for being here. Shout out to Aya. Thank you for subscribing. Shout out to Sydney. Shout out to Drea. Sorry if I mispronounce your name. Shout out to Shekina. Sorry if I mispronounce your name. Shout out to Fred. Shout out to Emily. Shout out to Caitlin. Shout out to Kyla. Shout out to Adam. Shout out to Asher. Shout out to Layla. Shout out to Letty. Leave a like if you're enjoying the live stream. Shout out to Presley. Shout out to Brayla. Shout out to Roxy. Shout out to Mia. Shout out to Katya. Thank you so much. Shout out to Nitty. Shout out to Avia. Shout out to Zuri. Shout out to Victory. Shout out to Tanner. Shout out to Kyla. Kyla Yother. Shout out to Chloe. Shout out to Vika. Leave a like if you're enjoying the live stream. Zuri, what name do you want me to write down? Shout out to Melanie. Shout out to Lara. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to Katie. Shout out to Zuri. Shout out to Sophia. Shout out to Ayat. Shout out to Hanley. Shout out to Ruby. Shout out to Graciela. Shout out to Virginia. Shout out to Leah. Shout out to Violet. Whoops, there we go. Thank you for your patience. Shout out to Katie. Shout out to Olivia. Shout out to Macy. Thank you. Shout out to Sandra. Shout out to Melissa. Shout out to Eden. Shout out to Kyra. Shout out to, sorry, the comments are going really fast. Shout out to Tilly. Shout out to Drisha. Sorry if I mispronounce your name. Shout out to Piper. Shout out to Mariah. Shout out to Akron. Shout out to Mariah. Leave a like if you're enjoying the live stream. Thank you so much for being here. Shout out to Courtney. Shout out to Mariah. Shout out to Kane. Shout out to Erin. Shout out to Lewis. Shout out to Cadence. Shout out to Yoonjin. Sorry if I mispronounce your name. Shout out to Bristol. Shout out to Anna. Shout out to Andrew. Shout out to Milan. Shout out to Asher. Shout out to Maham. Sorry if I mispronounce your name. Shout out to Yusra. Shout out to Daisy. Shout out to Michelle. Shout out to Jada. Shout out to Josie. Shout out to Bianca. Shout out to Nylia. Sorry if I mispronounce your name. Shout out to Adelaide. Sorry if I mispronounce your name. Shout out to Eden. Shout out to Isabel. Thank you for your patience. Shout out to Frankie. Shout out to Star. Shout out to Izzy. Shout out to Jack. Shout out to Mercy. Shout out to Claudia. Shout out to Lily. Shout out to Lena. Shout out to Aaliyah. Shout out to, I put Eden and Isabel right here. Eden and Isabel right here. Shout out to Lexi. Shout out to Anissa. Shout out to Douglas. Shout out to Amelia. Shout out to Aaliyah. Shout out to Tara. Shout out to Noelle. Shout out to Crystal. Shout out to Nancy. Shout out to Suki. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to Milena. Shout out to Beverly. Shout out to Crystal. Shout out to Coben. Shout out to Charlotte. Shout out to Angel. Shout out to Susan. Shout out to Molly. Shout out to these people. Thank you so much for being here. Okay, I'm done with this notebook. Let me get another one. Okay, let me get another notebook. Give me 1 second. Okay, I have another cute notebook. Okay, thank you for your patience. Thank you. Okay, on to the next notebook. Thank you for being here. Like and subscribe if you enjoy my shout outs. I also post other content. I hope you can check it out and support as well. Thank you for being here. Shout out to Isabel. Shout out to, is it Sheilin? Shaylin, sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to Priscilla. Shout out to Ivana. Shout out to Xavier. Shout out to Poppy. Shout out to Hannah. Shout out to Kawika. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to Madeline. Shout out to Jaslyn. Shout out to Tessa. Shout out to Harmony. Thank you so much for your patience. Write your name if I haven't gotten to you. Shout out to Nylea or Nylea. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to Rose. Shout out to Vivitex. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to Mila. Shout out to Alice. Shout out to Xander. Shout out to Alice. Oh, Alice, I got you. Shout out to Skylar. Shout out to Sophia. Shout out to Dennis. Shout out to Jolene. Shout out to Emmy. Shout out to Hames. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to Elena. Leave a like if you're enjoying the live stream. Shout out to Bella. Shout out to Nana. Shout out to Riley. Shout out to Brooklyn. Shout out to Laura. Shout out to Marwa. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to Diego. Shout out to Evelyn. Shout out to Denisa. Shout out to Izzy. Shout out to Dante. Shout out to Ava. Leave a like if you're enjoying the live stream. Thank you so much for being here. Shout out to Dayton. Shout out to Isabel. Shout out to, oh my gosh, sorry, the chat goes really fast sometimes. Shout out to Anya or Anaya, sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to Rue. Shout out to Jaylee. Shout out to Selena. Shout out to Grace. Shout out to Bentley Ika. Sorry if I mispronounce your name. Ika. Shout out to Rowan. Shout out to Rowan. Shout out to Olivia. Shout out to Royce. Shout out to Leah. Whoops, I messed up. Shout out to Leah. There we go. Shout out to Margot. Thank you for showing me how to pronounce your name. Shout out to Sky. Shout out to Kylie. Shout out to Kishelle. Sorry if I mispronounce your name. Shout out to Bradley. Shout out to Savannah. Shout out to Cave. Shout out to Anna. Shout out to Marcel. Shout out to Gadea. Shout out to Nyan. Or Nian. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to Graylin. Shout out to leave a like if you're enjoying the live stream. Shout out to Cindy or Sydney. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to Sun. Shout out to Sienna. Shout out to Cody. Shout out to Aubrey. Shout out to Tyler. Shout out to Piper. Shout out to Aaron. Shout out to Kiara or Kira. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to Yandriel. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to Adanari. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to Nyla. Shout out to Serenity. Leave a like if you're enjoying the live stream. Shout out to Delaney. Shout out to Millie. Shout out to Cheyenne. Thank you for your support, Cheyenne, and your patience. Cheyenne Whitley. I know I'm really slow at writing names, so I appreciate those that are still here. Thank you so much for your patience, everyone. Shout out to Ruby. Shout out to Carrie Ann. Shout out to Alana. Shout out to Zozo. Shout out to Brittany. Shout out to Piper. Bye, Piper. Thank you for stopping by. Shout out to Zainab. Shout out to, is it Michael? Sorry if I mispronounce your name. Shout out to Leak Now. Sorry if I mispronounce your name. Shout out to Liz. Shout out to Rebecca. Shout out to Kendall. Whoops. Shout out to Rachel. Shout out to Brooklyn. Shout out to Daphne. Shout out to Holly. What's your dad's name? Shout out to Romina. Shout out to Jessa. Shout out to Kiara. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to Tiana. Shout out to Ava. Shout out to Dimana or Dimana. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to these people. On to the next page. Leave a like if you're enjoying the live stream. Thank you so much for being here. Write your name in the chat if you want me to shout you out. Also, thank you for your patience. Shout out to Chris. Happy birthday. Shout out to Claire. Shout out to Maya. Shout out to Vicky. Shout out to Briella. Shout out to Iris. Shout out to Lainey. Shout out to Laura. Shout out to Hope. Shout out to Chloe. Thank you for subscribing. Shout out to Bryce. Shout out to Morgan. Shout out to Aria, thank you for subscribing. Shout out to Angela. Shout out to Danya. Sorry if I mispronounce your name. Shout out to Christian. Shout out to McKenna. Thank you for your patience. Write your name and if I haven't gotten to you. Shout out to Ashley. Shout out to Paisley. Shout out to Megan. Shout out to Tom. Shout out to Jamie Lee. Shout out to Katie. Shout out to Charlotte. Shout out to Ariel. Shout out to Holly. Shout out to Yazzie. Whoops. Shout out to Leah. Shout out to Jaden. Shout out to Ivy. Shout out to Sophia. Thank you for subscribing. Shout out to Litzy. Shout out to Bo. Shout out to Anja. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to Shayla. Shout out to Lizzie. Shout out to Teresa. Shout out to Yasmino. Shout out to Star. Shout out to Sunny. Shout out to Amaya. Shout out to Brooke. Shout out to Abrianne. Sorry if I mispronounce your name. Shout out to Clara, or Clara, sorry. Thank you for subscribing. Shout out to Matt. Shout out to Mary. Shout out to Collins. Shout out to Sydney. Shout out to Yarith. Sorry if I mispronounce your name. Shout out to Star, I got you. Shout out to Kendall. Shout out to Sienna. Shout out to Ramel. Sorry if I mispronounce your name. Shout out to Piper. Shout out to Faith. Shout out to Sabrina. Shout out to Natalie. Shout out to Sharon. Shout out to Trixie. Shout out to Benny. Leave a like if you're enjoying the live stream. Shout out to Brett. Shout out to Pauline. Shout out to Jax. Shout out to Kamoya. Shout out to Praline. Sorry if I mispronounce your name. Shout out to Aliana. Shout out to Keith. Shout out to Sophia. Shout out to Miriam. Shout out to Yazi Girl. Shout out to Kasia. Sorry if I mispronounce your name. Shout out to Isabella. Shout out to Hazel. Shout out to Sammy. Shout out to Glory. Shout out to Izzy. Thank you for subscribing. Leave a like if you're enjoying the live stream. Thank you so much for being here. Shout out to Paisley. Shout out to Aaliyah. Shout out to Allie. Shout out to Ellie. Thank you for subscribing. Shout out to Jandal. Shout out to Stella. Shout out to Rome. Shout out to Simon. Shout out to Ariana. Shout out to Irma. Shout out to Vina. Shout out to Charlie. Shout out to Maria. Shout out to Kaylin. Shout out to Shaya. Sorry if I mispronounce your name. Shout out to Summer. Shout out to Layla. Shout out to Zoe. Shout out to Nevaeh. Shout out to Bryn. Shout out to Bradley. Shout out to Kelsey. Shout out to Mila. Shout out to Jesus. Shout out to Summer, I got you. Shout out to Adeline. Shout out to these people. Thank you so much for being here. Please like and subscribe if you enjoy my shout outs. I also post other content that I hope you can check out as well. I will live stream again today, so please subscribe so you know when I'm going to go live again. Thank you so much for your patience. I truly appreciate it. Bye. Take care. See you in a few hours. Bye.